99% of gun owners walk into a sporting goods store, look at an air rifle and think, toy. They laugh it off. They walk straight past it toward the centerfire section. And that split-second dismissal costs them the most technologically advanced hunting platform on the market in 2026. Because what is sitting quietly on Amazon right now, no background check, no FFL, delivered straight to your door, are pneumatic machines that hit harder than a 9mm pistol. Some of them hit harder than a .45. One of them, we will get to that. Let me be clear about what you are about to watch. This is not a video about plinking cans in the backyard. This is not a video about pest control with a .22 pellet gun your grandfather owned. This is a deep dive breakdown of the 7 most destructive pre-charged pneumatic air rifles available on Amazon in 2026, ranked by raw kinetic energy, mechanical engineering, and real-world terminal performance. These are big-bore monsters, and if you think compressed air cannot drop dangerous game, you have never seen what is coming at number 1. Every list has to start somewhere, and the platform that opens this countdown is not the biggest on the list. It is not the loudest. It is not the heaviest. What it is the most deceptively dangerous 6.5-pound package in the entire big-bore PCP market in 2026. The AYA HP Max. And before you scroll past this one looking for the 4-digit foot-pound numbers coming later, understand something fundamental about what makes this platform remarkable. Every other rifle on this list demands a physical commitment from the shooter. 10 pounds of walnut and steel, 50-inch overall length, a dedicated HPA compressor bolted to your garage wall before you ever touch a trigger. The HP Max demands none of that. At 6.5 pounds and a compact overall profile that disappears into a day pack, this is the platform that goes where the Zeus and the Texan physically cannot follow. Dense brush, tree saddles, remote backcountry camps miles from the nearest compressor. Here is the mechanical story behind how AEA extracts 300+ foot-pounds from a package this small. The HP Max runs a bolt-action feeding system paired with a 300cc onboard air reservoir rated to 4,500 psi, the same brutal fill pressure as the largest platforms on this list. That pressure differential is the key. Most compact PCP platforms trade down to 3,000 psi fill pressure to simplify their valve geometry and reduce mechanical stress on smaller components. AEA refused that compromise. By pushing the HP Max to 4,500 psi, the engineering team packed a disproportionately large energy reservoir into that 300cc bottle, delivering a shot count and per-shot consistency that platforms twice its size at lower fill pressures genuinely cannot match. The bolt cycles smoothly, stripping .45 caliber projectiles from a 6-round magazine and chambering them with a mechanical precision that reflects the tight tolerances AEA built into this receiver. Available across 4 calibers, 30, 35, 45, and 50. The platform scales its terminal performance to match the mission, from small predator control all the way up to medium game at ethical hunting distances. Now, the deal breaker on the HP Max. That short 14-inch barrel is the price you pay for portability. Barrel length directly governs the dwell time available for expanding gas to accelerate a projectile before it exits the muzzle. At 14 inches, the HP Max surrenders meaningful velocity compared to what the same caliber and fill pressure would produce through a 24 or 32-inch barrel. 300 foot-pounds is genuinely impressive for a platform this compact. But the rifles sitting above it on this list, running barrels 2 and 3 times longer, extract dramatically more energy from the same pressurized air simply because physics rewards barrel length. The HP Max is the entry point to this list for a reason. It is the most portable, most field-ready, most accessible platform here. But if raw terminal energy is the mission, the next 6 platforms will recalibrate your expectations entirely, stepping up the power and stepping into a completely different category of versatility. Most air rifles on this list do one thing extremely well. They push a heavy lead projectile downrange at maximum velocity. The Seneca Dragonclaw 2 Tactical does that too. But then it does something none of the other 6 platforms on this list can do. It throws arrows, not metaphorically. Actual Seneca air bolts. 430-grain carbon shafts tipped with broadhead blades, launched at 600 feet per second from a 50-caliber pneumatic platform. And here is why that matters, from a terminal ballistics standpoint. A broadhead-tipped air bolt at that weight does not rely purely on kinetic energy transfer the way a lead projectile does. The razor-sharp cutting diameter of the broadhead creates a wound channel through tissue and organ that is geometrically wider than the shaft diameter itself, and the sectional density of the bolt drives it through muscle and bone with penetration depth that a round-nosed lead slug at the same energy level simply cannot replicate. That is the mechanic that defines this platform. Dual ammunition systems, lead projectiles and air bolts, operating from the same receiver, the same fill pressure, the same trigger. The Dragonclaw 2 Tactical runs a traditional dual-tube high-pressure air reservoir system, delivering a total air volume of 500 cc's. But here is the part that separates it from the Zeus and the Hammer sitting higher on this list. Maximum fill pressure is only 3,000 psi. 3,000. That means a quality manual hand pump can bring this system to full operating pressure without an electric HPA compressor. For the hunter who does not want to haul a $1,200 compressor into a remote camp, that is a legitimate strategic advantage that cannot be understated. The 2026 tactical variant also swapped out the classic Monte Carlo hardwood stock entirely. Gone. In its place, an AR-style pistol grip, an adjustable length of pull buttstock, and a synthetic handguard machined with M-lock slots for bipod mounts, lights, and accessories. Total air volume across the dual-tube system gives you a workable shot count, and the 2-stage power adjuster lets you dial back pressure for lighter targets to stretch that count even further. Now, the deal breaker on the Dragonclaw 2. The stock furniture, even in the updated tactical configuration, feels noticeably cheap when you put it up against the machined aluminum and walnut of the Air Force Texan or the precision fit of the Umarex Hammer. The pistol grip has a hollow, plasticky feel under your hand. The M-lock slots are functional, but the tolerances on the handguard show cost-cutting at the manufacturing level. For a platform in this price bracket competing against American and Turkish-built alternatives, that ergonomic shortcut is a genuine frustration. The performance numbers are real. 340 foot-pounds with a 336-grain flat-nose lead projectile and the airbolt system delivering devastation at close hunting ranges. But every time your hand wraps around that grip, you feel where the budget went, and it was not into the furniture. Sound off below if you have taken game with an airbolt setup. I want to know what you dropped and at what distance. Now we get into the serious hunting rigs. 45-7 caliber, 450 foot-pounds of kinetic energy delivered from a platform that weighs 8.75 pounds and measures 36 inches tip to tail. The Benjamin Bulldog Magnum is the definition of a compact sledgehammer. And if you think a 36-inch bullpup air rifle cannot put a 350-grain lead slug through the vitals of a wild boar at ethical hunting distance, this is going to change your entire perspective on pneumatic hunting platforms. Here is the mechanical story behind how Bulldog Magnum generates that kind of punishment from such a small package. Benjamin took the original Bulldog receiver, already a proven bullpup architecture, and dropped in a significantly larger 440cc high-pressure air cylinder behind the action. That increased internal air volume is the critical variable. A 45-7 bore diameter demands a dramatically larger volume of propellant gas to accelerate a heavy projectile compared to the 35-7 bore of the original Bulldog. Without that larger reservoir, the valve would starve mid-stroke, and the bullet would exit the muzzle well below threshold velocity. With it, the system has enough stored air to deliver 3 authoritative, consistent shots before pressure drops to the point where velocity deviation becomes a hunting liability. 3 shots. That is your ethical window on a single fill. Benjamin calculated it deliberately. 3 rounds matching the 3-position gravity-fed vertical magazine, ensuring every projectile in the tube exits with terminal performance intact. Under that magazine sits a Lothar Walther barrel imported from Europe. That name matters. Lothar Walther barrels are cold hammer forged with rifling tolerances that most domestic barrel makers cannot replicate at any price point. The result is a consistent spin imparted on every 350 grain projectile that stabilizes the bullet through its entire flight arc at hunting ranges, keeping group sizes tight enough to thread vital zones on whitetail and feral hog. Benjamin also integrated their sound trap baffling technology into the shroud, wrapping the barrel in a noise reduction system that strips turbulent gas off the muzzle before it can fully expand. And for shooters who want to go further, an M18 thread at the muzzle accepts large-bore third-party suppressors. Now, the deal breaker on the Bulldog Magnum. This is an unregulated platform. No regulator means no pressure stabilization between shots. Shot 1 leaves the muzzle at peak velocity. Shot 2 is slightly slower. Shot 3 is noticeably slower than shot 1. That velocity spread across a 3-shot string means your point of impact shifts at distance. At 50 yards, that shift may be acceptable. Past 75 yards, the vertical stringing caused by that pressure drop becomes a genuine ethical concern when hunting live animals. For hunters who demand absolute shot-to-shot consistency at extended range, the absence of a regulator on a platform at this price point is a hard pill to swallow. But wait until you see the absolute slug-slinging monster locked in at number 1, because regulated consistency at this power level hits completely different. Stepping up the power further, and stepping into the only platform on this entire list that was engineered from a blank sheet of paper on American soil, specifically to harvest big game. Not adapted from a target rifle, not scaled up from a pest control platform. Designed from the ground up in the United States, with one singular mission: put large, dangerous animals on the ground with compressed air. That engineering philosophy shows up immediately in the mechanical heart of the Umarex hammer, the light-speed valve system. Here is how it works and why it matters. Most PCP platforms rely on a hammer spring to drive a steel striker into the valve stem, cracking it open for a brief dwell time before spring tension and back pressure slam it shut again. The timing of that dwell window is everything. Too short, and the bullet starves for propellant gas. Too long, and you bleed pressure wastefully into the atmosphere behind the projectile. The Lightspeed valve addresses this with a patent-pending mechanical geometry that snaps the valve open with significantly greater force and holds it open through a more precisely controlled dwell cycle than a conventional hammer spring can achieve. Paired with a regulator locked at 3,000 psi, every single shot receives exactly the same pressure pulse behind it. Not approximately the same, exactly the same. That regulated consistency is what gives hammer its defining characteristic. 2 authoritative, repeatable shots per fill before the main reservoir drops below the regulator's set point. 2 shots at 705 foot-pounds when running 550 grain lead. Consistent, predictable, lethal. The 24 cubic inch carbon fiber reservoir fills to 4,500 psi, giving the regulator a generous pressure differential to work with across those first 2 shots. Hammer also runs a 2-round linear magazine with a straight pull bolt, requiring only 2 pounds of effort to cycle. A remarkable engineering achievement when you consider that bolt is working against the full regulated pressure waiting on the other side of the valve face. That fast follow-up capability is a genuine life safety advantage when pursuing dangerous game in close cover. Ergonomically, hammer speaks the language of the American rifle shooter immediately. Magpul MOE pistol grip, 8.5-inch Picatinny optics rail, M-lock attachment slots on the handguard. It shoulders and presents like a precision AR platform, not like a traditional air rifle. Now, the deal breaker on the Umarex hammer. The damage to your wallet does not stop at the purchase price. Hammer operates at 4,500 psi, the same brutal fill pressure as the Zeus sitting at the top of this list. That means manual hand pumps are completely off the table. You are buying a dedicated HPA electric compressor, budget between $500 and $1,500 depending on the unit, before this rifle ever sees a fill. And once you touch that trigger, hearing protection is not optional, it is mandatory. The composite barrel shroud reduces the acoustic signature somewhat, but the sheer volume of gas moving at 3,000 psi still produces a muzzle report that has absolutely no business being discharged in a residential neighborhood. Field use only, range use only, and always with ears on. Now we enter the elite tier, and the Hatsan piledriver earns its place here for one reason no other platform on this list can claim: 800 plus foot-pounds through a 33-inch barrel, from a total package length of 46.5 inches. That geometry is only possible because of the bullpup architecture. Hammer assembly, valve block, and loading port all relocated rearward of the trigger group, eliminating the dead space a conventional stock layout wastes. The result is a platform that handles like a compact carbine but hits like a full-length hunting rifle. Devastating in dense brush, devastating in tight hunting blinds, devastating anywhere a 50-inch platform like the Zeus becomes a liability. Now here is the mechanical innovation that truly defines the piledriver above its competitors: the gas piston hammer mechanism. Conventional PCP platforms use a coiled steel spring to drive the hammer into the valve stem. Those springs work, but they introduce harmonic vibration into the receiver at the exact millisecond the projectile is accelerating down the bore. Hatsan replaced that steel spring entirely with a nitrogen-charged gas piston strut. The nitrogen column delivers its stored energy as a single, fluid, spike-free push against the hammer face. No oscillation, no resonant twang, no spring bounce after strike. The piledriver has the smoothest firing cycle of any platform in this power class. Period. A 480cc carbon fiber reservoir fills to 300 bar, pushing 50 caliber projectiles past 850 feet per second for 800 plus foot-pounds at the muzzle. Now, the deal breaker. Proprietary fill probes will drain your wallet alongside the ammunition cost. Hatsan's non-standard fill interface requires their specific adapter, and third-party probes frequently bleed pressure during fill attempts. Replacement costs compound fast. For a platform at this price point, that proprietary lock-in is a genuine long-term financial irritant every buyer needs to price into total cost of ownership. Entering the elite tier, we are looking at the legendary Air Force Texan, specifically the Tex Rex variant. The single-stage trigger breaks like stepping on thin ice, dropping with precisely 2 pounds of pull. Squeezing off a round sounds like a massive commercial air brake venting all at once. What makes this platform so incredibly lethal is its inline valve system. Instead of forcing the air through a 90-degree transfer port like most rifles, the Texan aligns the carbon fiber tank, the valve, and the barrel perfectly straight. When the hammer drops, the massive volume of high-pressure air rushes directly into the base of the slug with zero aerodynamic turbulence or friction loss. This allows the rig to harness every single ounce of potential energy. Pushing 5.10 caliber super heavy cast lead, the specialized Tex Rex variant achieves staggering numbers. It throws massive projectiles past 1,000 feet per second. You are looking at over 1,100 foot-pounds of kinetic energy at the muzzle. They utilize a premium German-made Lothar Walther barrel to keep that massive rotational mass perfectly stabilized downrange. The spin-lock tank system is another huge advantage. It lets you carry extra pre-filled 490cc carbon fiber bottles into the woods and swap them out with a wrench, completely avoiding the need to pack a heavy compressor. Look, the performance is undeniable, but here is the deal breaker. The ergonomics are practically non-existent. Because the air cylinder physically acts as your buttstock and cheek rest, it is incredibly awkward to get a proper sight picture, and you have to master traditional centerfire fundamentals to manage the brutal recoil. Here it is, the undisputed king. And before we talk about why the Zeus sits alone at the top, let me be straight with you. The Tex Rex at number 2 delivers 1,100 foot-pounds through the most efficient inline valve system in the industry, with a German Lothar-Walther barrel that prints tighter groups than the Zeus will ever manage. The Umarex hammer at number 4 gives you regulated shot-to-shot consistency that the Zeus completely abandons. The Zeus gives you neither of those things. What it gives you is 1,500 foot-pounds of kinetic energy from compressed air, 4 times the muzzle energy of a 9mm pistol, no powder, no primer, no cartridge case. Just 4,500 psi of atmospheric air released through 72 caliber bore diameter, 18.2 millimeters, against the base of an 820 grain lead slug. Here is the physics that makes 1,500 foot-pounds possible when every other platform on this list falls hundreds short. Pressure multiplied by surface area equals force. At 72 caliber, the gas column contacts a projectile base so dramatically wider than a 50 caliber bore that the resulting acceleration is in a completely different universe, regardless of how efficiently a smaller bore valve operates. The 32-inch barrel configuration houses a 660cc reservoir, the largest air volume on this entire list, feeding that massive bore through an unregulated side lever action that cycles with a vault door solidity you have to feel to believe. 11.6 pounds of walnut and thick wall steel barrel absorb the rearward impulse of launching 820 grains at 1,000 feet per second. Newton's third law, managed by mass, 3 shots per fill at peak power. That is your hunting window. 1 target, 1 approach, 3 chances to do it right. The infrastructure cost is real. 4,500 psi demands a dedicated HPA compressor, but nothing on Amazon in 2026 delivers 1,500 foot-pounds to your front door without a federal firearms license. The AEA Zeus is number 1. It is not close. Look, we have torn through the absolute titans of the big bore airgun world, from the heavy-hitting Terminator all the way to the artillery-grade dominance of the Zeus. You have seen how these rigs sacrifice everything: air efficiency, ergonomics, and your bank account, just to squeeze out every possible foot-pound of energy. These are not toys for the backyard. They are purpose-built tools designed to dispatch heavy game with surgical precision. If you want the raw truth without the marketing fluff, lock it in right here. Shoot straight. Get prepared.